Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you may be. I am your humble host, Mr. David Null, also known as Hawkeye Two Feathers, and I greet you with the love and the honor of the infinite creator. And I continue to pray that each and every day, that each and every one of you will continue to accept, receive, and utilize the healing, the wisdom, and the universe. That said, this is a topic that came up yesterday, and I got in a flurry of excitement and wrote up a couple of titles, knowing that the time was going to be off anyway. But with that said, when people are trying to understand within themselves, people talk about spirituality and the different realms and levels and things and stuff. But what if you really don't understand any of it? I mean, what if none of it makes sense? And you say, well, you're talking in gibberish to me because it's something I can't see technically, taste, sort of, feel, maybe, but or experience. It's an experience that you must understand. When that ghost appeared to me many years ago and woke us when before while the house was on fire, but woke me up so that we could get out of the house. It manifested itself and shook my foot. Now, how extreme is that in the realm of reality? But not everybody has those types of experiences. So it's like that's why folks like me, to tell a true story, a true event, and to explain it the best way that we can. And what happens? Hello, Michelle. Blessings. Hi again. Strange meeting y'all here. You know what I mean? Um, but the idea though about thought and people wanting to reach different realms of thought and how do I achieve different realms of reality? Well, and I've discussed some of these things before, but I think it's important because somebody during Milky Way Weekly's chat said something. I can't remember who it was, and I won't speak out of turn, but about using the finger technique with doing this to help wake up your brain and to help open up areas in your conscious and subconscious. Now, last night, actually, it was early this morning, Breaking Dawn and I were discussing this, and we were discussing the different states of consciousness and unconsciousness. And we were discussing it, I wrote the title of this video. So this is like 24 hours later. I'm going to discuss this with you all now. Um, but the idea of that the subconscious, the trinity of thought. Now, I'm using the term trinity kind of loosely here, okay? But it does form a triangle of sorts. And what it means is that there is the state of consciousness, and there's the state of unconsciousness, and there's the state of the two of them working together, which creates the third consciousness, which is the third eye, which is the trinity of things. It forms the triangle, if you will, a unity in the number three kind of thing. Now, I have been studying this for a long time because in learning how to astral project, and I've discussed this, for example, I'll give a really brief example of what you can do. Any more information, ask me. But if you've never done it before, then what you do is you pick one room as your target room and another room for where you recline, where you rest from. And so you go into the target room, living room, bathroom, kitchen, dining room, doesn't matter. Stay in the house at first and get used to look around the room and spot key things. Go back into your relaxing room, and don't make the room the same place where you're relaxing. Always choose another room. But then you close your eyes and try to imagine it. Get up, walk out of the chair, or your recliner or the bed or whatever you're on, and walk down the hall, go into the next room and look at it the way you saw it when you were actually standing there. And then come back to yourself wake yourself up, and then walk back into the room again and see if there's any difference. And then you repeat this. And after a while, you won't have to get up to walk into the other room. You will automatically know I can get up and walk into the other room without leaving my chair. Here's another one. Now, what does this do? It stimulates the subconscious and the conscious. Now, let me tell you something. Think about this for a minute. I'm going to throw this out there, and then I'm going to give you a couple more tips to work on to help you to explore this for yourself. If you've not experienced this, you need to practice it. If you say, well, I don't really see the need in this, you actually should please pay attention, because it's not my rule. If you want to learn these things, then you're going to have to understand the things that because there are ways to get there, okay? And it will open up these avenues. And if you don't choose to do them or try them, then you're missing out on a whole bunch of stuff. I just got to say. And it's just not my opinion. It's the kind of the rule of nature, if you will. It's shaman basics, okay? But anyway, so the deal is this, to look at your third eye. A lot of people have been doing tests. I've talked about it before, where they blindfold children 8, 9, 10, 12, 13, somewhere in the 14 to 16 range. It sort of drops off. It's harder for the children to adapt. But they learn how to wear a blindfold, like you see the people wear on TV for sleeping, to block out all the light. And they ask them to look around the room. And they've learned to open up their third eye. I talked about this in a video last night or yesterday or something. But it is tied to this. And I said yesterday, this is going to loop into what I was talking about. It does. This is another segue into this. So the subconscious mind is always working. Now just stop and think about that. Okay. It's always working. So whatever you're doing during the day that you don't notice, it's getting stored. You're going to notice certain key points during your day, but your subconscious sees it all, sort of like an AI, if you will. It's your own personal recorder. It's seeing everything. And it may see something else, like when you learn how to walk into the room in your astral mind through your third eye, and you see the room, and you'll notice things that you didn't notice when you were standing in the room physically. And it's a really odd phenomenon, but if you do it right, you'll go, holy crap, I forgot there's a smudge on the wall over there by the door or something. There'll be some kind of thing that you'll see that'll stick out in your astral plane, and it'll awaken your senses. Now, the next other thing is to then look at the room and then put on a blindfold. If you can keep your eyes closed and not cheat, sometimes I have to peek early on, but then you walk into your target room with your eyes closed as if you were a blind person. Now, why is this important? Okay, because your subconscious and your conscious mind are now working together, okay? Your subconscious mind has recorded the trip in there, you physically standing in your target room and looking about and noticing things. And then you take it back. You relax the body, and because you relax the body, then you're sort of taking the physical out of it, if you will, through your meditation, through your relaxation. So you're releasing certain things that run automatically anyway. Why does your heart, do you consciously think about your heartbeat all the time? Do you consciously think about, this or that or blah, blah? No, your heart's running, your liver, your kidneys, all these functions are running, quote, through your subconscious. It's not really subconscious. It's always there. So the conscious mind is only a part of it. Remember, folks always say you only use a certain portion of your brain. That's true. But the thing is that your whole brain is always working. Whether you understand it, get it, or whatever or not, it's still working. It's still recording. It's still listening. it's still, that's why sometimes you when you have dreams or whatever, there's stuff that comes through your day and it's like, where the hell did that come from? Something has been seen by your subconscious during your conscious mind or something like that. um, I've had many instances of that. But when you understand that the two exist at the same time, and you say, well, wait a minute, what are you talking about? If you're awake, like I am speaking to you and you are listening to me, maybe half asleep and bored, but to the point though, I am awake, but also my subconscious is running, is regulating my breathing, my heart rate. It's making my kidneys work, sometimes a little too much in old age. But I think there are portions that forget, wait a minute, oh my God, old people have to go to the bathroom and we lose ourselves, it's horrible. But to the point though, that's still a lot of stuff in my system that's still working that I don't consciously think of. They're running automatically, but they're not. They're being controlled up here. Because when you concentrate on something, you can reduce your heart rate. When you do breathing exercises and so forth, which are important, because when you learn to control your own system by simply changing your breathing pattern, you will also, in effect, also change your heart rate. Okay. And also your well being and maybe even your stomach if you do it right. But the idea, though, that first we must understand subconscious, conscious, blah, 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 blah. Well, I put in the title the subconscious because to to us in the conscious reality, we don't know that it's running. So it's actually unconscious to us, even while I'm awake speaking to you. Each and every one of us, this other part of our brain, I'm just, looking back here versus up here somewhere. Back here, there's this memory storage thing. All this stuff is running in the background. I mean, you could almost think of a little midget inside your brain, right? Running the controls, going, okay, well, we're recording this, and then Dave's talking about this, and oh shit, we got to forget we're running this, and we're watching bugs fly around in the room, and there's some little midget inside my brain doing all these little things. But to the point, though, that's the third entity. That's the Trinity of thought. Wait a minute. What you talking about, Hawkeye? Well, this is what I'm talking about. We have to elevate ourselves out of the feeling that the two are separated. They're separated because we've been taught to separate them. We have been taught to ignore the subconscious while we're awake. And those of us, I realize, in Milky Way Weeklies, in the chat room, we were discussing medications, and one of the ways that I actually really woke up was when I stopped taking, hey, Max Vision, hi, slightly slooted, I'm slightly slanted myself, a sleuth, truth. Anyway, hi, everybody. Hey, Max, how are you? Blessings, thumbs up, everybody, cheers. But this idea of hey there, truth in me, blessings to you. Hi, everybody. And cosmic hugs, really, 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 honestly. But, in understanding ourselves, in understanding the universe, if you can understand, forget this matrix, forget all this other trash, really. And we all got to say nice things about Bob. Bob, here's to you, my friend. Cheers, some coffee. Thank you, Bob. Thank you to the other AIs that allow me to do these little videos and get together with my friends. Thank you for allowing this to, not blank out entirely. Bob, we love you. Thank you. Now, moving on. But in this reality of things, so people want to be aware, but do they know how? Do they know what it means? Well, by doing some of these simple little tasks, like practicing to go in the next room in your mind, it's really good practice. and you should try it. If you've not done it and you're trying to get into other realms, you should learn to do this. Treat yourself to the basics that have been taught for lots of years. I've known this since the late 60s. The Russians have been using these types of techniques for a long time, and so have lots of other shamans and folks. So please, 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 if you've not done some of these basics, I still do them. I still use them. I still employ these techniques. And they've become second nature to me because I've understood them for so long. Now, does that make me smarter than anybody else? No, I just maybe had more practice in certain areas, simply because I'm getting to be an old geezer, you know. Uh, but so anyway, it's not about following me. It's about if you don't do these certain things, you're going to have a hard time understanding if you've reached a certain level or not. And by doing these certain practices, you will be able to gauge how you're doing. And so by going into the other room and picking just don't be going off, choosing a target, your own place that you're familiar with, and practicing in that area, you are able to go, oh, when I walked into the room the other night, I didn't flip on the light. And I normally do when I'm walking through the living room to get to the kitchen. And all of a sudden you realized, oh, holy crap, I didn't step on the kids' toys that were there. I didn't manage to bump my knee on the chair that I always bump my knee on. And I made it to the kitchen and I didn't turn on the light. And you go, oh, wait a minute. Oh, holy crap. That's a moment when you realized you've reached a certain level of awareness. So if you practice these tiny things, then later on, you'll say, well, wait a minute. You have to trust in yourself, because here's the deal. Your subconscious mind, which ain't really subconscious, but it's the conscious one, actually, part of our brains. It's always recording. So if we allow our brains our conscious brain to trust the subconscious backup stuff, because it's the same brain, just different parts of it, right? It's how we access it. And if we don't understand that it exists, then how can you access it? How can you utilize it? Now, I've talked many times in a video last night about being able to see with your fingertips. This is not a joke, okay? Practice something, anything. Try to learn. It's, for example, now this is I don't like to use this example, but it is true. There are people who can take a 45, semi-automatic and disassemble it with their eyes closed, pull out the thingy, put it back in, cock it, and be ready. And, and they do it with their eyes closed. What do you think that is? It's practice, yeah, but they're seeing in another realm. They're seeing the damn thing with their eyes closed, because that's how they practice. So they're using their third eye. Duh. CIA training, they teach all these soldiers how to do this stuff with their eyes closed. They're pre-programming their brain, and so everybody reaches a certain level of agility with this. What the hell do you think they're doing? They're mind controlling them to use portions that they wish necessary, without telling you, to use your third eye for these, to use these weapons when we ask you to. Not to say that you can't question it, but why do some people go nuts? Because they have been taught to do things in their sleep, and they don't realize what's awake and what isn't anymore. Their version of reality, which is they have bridged the gap between the conscious and the subconscious, not unconscious, but subconscious, that you can actually get them all three to work together, thus forming the triangle Trinity thing. The subconscious always works. We have to go into a sleep state. Otherwise, we'll literally blow fuses in our brains. And sometimes us old folk have to take more naps than I would like. But in the long run, though, there are interesting things that you get to see within the dreams. And when you are are more aware of these different levels of reality. Like when sleeping really ain't sleeping anymore because I have walked in other realms. And so it's like, it's not, I'm just not present in this realm. Doesn't mean I'm not, it doesn't mean that I'm asleep. It just means I'm not here. I know that's a little strange to comprehend, understand. But anyway, there are other medicine men, shaman folk that I have met that literally they're here, but they ain't here. And I realized that in my 67 years, later years as a hermit here, that I've reached a certain stage to where I don't know. It's I don't want to use the idea that I'm a Yoda, but I'm kind of sort of living in a cave in a way, but I'm comfortable in my little cave surroundings, and I'm using the forces of nature. I haven't learned how to pull anything out of the swamp yet, although I've been in the swamp and have been sustained over 3 days in the swamp. I don't know how. When the conditions were such that they should have found me dead in my canoe down on the river. So there's something's going on. Now, I don't consider myself any more special than the next person. It's just that I have been practicing some of these things longer. That's all. I started out doing these exact same techniques. Now, here's another trick you can do. And I've mentioned this before, but if you don't think it's not important, please, you gotta try these basics out, because when you get confident with doing them, you gain confidence within your own third eye. It gives you more. It's a pat on the back. It's an attaboy. It's your own attaboy. You go, oh, holy crap! I did that with my third eye, and I really wasn't looking, and I was able to do this thing, um, and so you achieve a higher sense of self confidence, which is extremely necessary. Now, it's a simple task. Pick a clock. You want to learn how to tell time without going, looking, or whatever. You pick a clock and you picture the clock. You look at it physically, then close your eyes, go in the other room, and you picture it in your mind. At one time I had a little digital clock. Now I got this clock behind me, and and guess what? It's going to be my time again soon, in next weekend or something on the third or whatever. The time goes back. Actually, it'll become my time again. I never changed my time forward, and it's been an interesting experience for the second year in a row, I might add. Um, but with the idea though that you start gaining confidence about using your third eye, you're allowing your subconscious and your conscious mind to morph and work together, because sometimes it gives you a really strange look at reality. And in my personal experience, there are times like, oh, holy crap, I think maybe I might be tripping again, and go, no, that's just be, because of all this practice and my age and so forth. I'm seeing that by using my third eye all the time, and by understanding it and allowing it and not being bombarded, since I'm retired, not being bombarded by a lot of other things to distract me, I realize I've reached a certain type of Zen. Now, I'm not a Zen master in any stretch, but I understand now what that kind of means. You reach a certain kind of a calmness where, yeah, there can be things that can upset you and piss you off, but not like it used to be in the old days. I'd be like shaking my fist and wanting to go, paint somebody's, a sign on somebody's wall or something. I mean, I was quite the belligerent at one time, and hard-kissed, if you will, and realized that really only just gets you in trouble and thrown in jail. But, hey, no, it really wasn't fun to be in jail, but just, um, at the time you kind of thought, well, that would be an experience. Yeah, it ain't really no fun. But the idea though, and one of the things that I learned when I was in jail, when I spent a year in the Hillsborough County Jail, was that I could use my third eye to see my home here in Georgia, not this house, but where I lived at the time. And I've talked about this before, but it's important because I remembered what the farm sounded like at night. There was an old rooster down on one side of the hill, and when he crowed, you could hear it from a certain direction. There was the hog parlor that was down the hill a ways. Hey, Max. Um, there was a hog parlor down the hill a little ways, and you could hear the flapping of the metal pans when the hogs lift the use their snout to open up the feeders, and when they take their nose out, it makes this flapping sound. It's sheet metal on sheet metal. Anyway, sounds of the thing. But in remembering that, I was able to transport myself to South Georgia. And I knew it was night. I'd stand on the hill, and sometimes it was moonlight, and sometimes it wasn't, because I realized that in my bunk in the jail, it was dark. It was 2, 3 in the morning. So if I was actually standing on the hill back in Georgia, it had to be dark. So if I was standing on the hill and hearing all these things next to my house where I stayed, that if it was daytime, then it was a dream. It was a false image, you see. That's why some of these practices are important. You go into the room in the daytime, go in the room at nighttime, your target area for your practice spot. And then once you get comfortable with that, just try another room. But once you realize that you're actually you're walking around in your spirit self, then the next thing to do is to just be comfortable in it. Realize that, your subconscious brain is working, because one of the hardest things I had to overcome was to allow myself to relax such that I couldn't feel my heartbeat. And it scared the shit out of me, because it's like, but my heart was still beating. But when you leave yourself and you take yourself out of body, you don't feel your heartbeat. And it's creepy. It's like you don't feel yourself breathing. So in learning how to control your breath, and there are some old techniques, it was like breathe in for 4, breathe out for 6. Now, it's a lot harder to breathe out for 6 when, you can fill your lungs in 4, but to push out 6 counts, just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Nothing too slow, nothing too fast, but you reach a cadence. In the cadence of the 1, 2, 3, or 1, in the counting, there is it's like a mantra, if you will, in the counting. So you do 4, then you out 6. 4, 6, 4, 6. And then you take in 4, hold it for 4, and then out for 6. And you repeat that 3 times. And then you go to a state where you breathe in for 4 and try to hold for the count of 8. And then release to the count of 6. It's almost always released to 6. Now, I was chatting with somebody and they said it's a 4x4. There are lots of techniques, okay? But this one particular one, and why I'm explaining to you this way is for this reason. When you hold your breath, and it's not like I'm struggling for air. No, you're practicing in slowing down your heart. You're also practicing your psyche, because you're getting your body ready for when you slow your heart rate down and you leave your body, you're not going to feel like you're choking. You're not going to feel like somebody, I got to breathe. You already are. You're trying to leave the realm, leave the realm of the subconscious mind and enter the subconscious conscious Trinity of thought, the third spot. So, but then all of a sudden you realize, I don't feel myself breathing, or you want to panic. A lot of folks reach that. A lot of folks have that, especially early on. But when you understand, and so that you almost realize that after just three of these, three of these, three of these, and then you go back to just intake 4, out for 6, intake 4, out for 6, and then just relax. So it's not a really hard thing to do. And you can practice it in different ways and find out your own results. But I found out with myself in the holding of breath, it's a control thing. So, for example, I've watched movies where they grab your head and shove you under the water, and everybody blows all their air out of their lungs automatically. It's like a reflex. No, 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 no. If you're going to shove my head down in a bucket of water, the first thing I'm going to do is take a deep breath and hold my breath. You put my head in the water, okay, and I'm going to relax. Because if you panic, then you're going to want to breathe right away. So there is a lot of control in the just, and your heart rate slows down, your everything, your aura, all these things change, altered by these simple acts that you do, because it's changing frequencies, and you're allowing yourself to relax in a way that you may not ever try before. Um, Truth in me, it is an easy technique, and there are variations on it. I tried my own variations, but I realized that the basic technique that was always there was actually really, really reliable. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, you can try other stuff, but if this is really working, why go off and venture in an area that you just don't really have the same results? So I'm try all you want to, you know what I mean? But you should at least try these simple basics, and you use your own variations. But like, for example, say, all right, I breathe in for 4, and I'm going to try to hold my breath till 10. Now, as a child, we loved to go swimming in pools. I grew up in Florida, blah blah blah. And as going into my 8, 9-year-old, 10-year-old, we bought an upright swimming pool that was in my granny's backyard down there. And so one of the things we would do was see how many times we could swim underwater back and forth across this 20-foot pool, which is like, wow, that's a long way. But then it got to be like once, and then you come up for air. Then you practice, and then you get one and a half. Then you start getting underwater for 2 times, and you start learning to control your breath. Breaking Dawn and I watched this thing on Netflix or Hulu. I'm not sure, but anyway, it was about islanders down north of Australia in the Polynesian Islands. These guys and girls, all these folks, just diving in the ocean with just a pair of shorts on and goggles maybe, and diving down into these reefs and standing on the rocks, 20 foot, 30 foot deep, holding a spear, waiting on a fish to go by, like they were standing on the side of a mountain like a freaking sheep. And there no bubbles coming out, and they stand there for a little while, and then they dive even deeper and go swimming on the bottom, and then they come up and go, hi, how you all doing? And then they go back down again. What the hell? There's people with diving gear videotaping them. I'm like watching these folks going underwater. They're like, it's no big deal. They can hold their breath for minutes. So if we don't panic about things, but they've learned literally, I mean, dive 20, 30, 40 feet in the ocean, just with I mean, they just look suspended in the ocean. No weight belts, no fins. They had an odd way of paddling their legs, I gotta say. But but I mean, I couldn't do what they do and just dive in and with a harpoon and try attempt to kill, or in such case they did actually kill a whale. For food, they use every single part of that. 2,000 people live in this one community, and if they don't get enough their share of whales every year, those folks literally starve. So gotta say, but they're very respectful to the earth. They're a very good community. But and if I could remember the name of the thingy, it's a really good little 3 or 4 part documentary. But anyway, but the thing is that we don't realize these things. So there are people who are using other parts of their brain. Here's this little 3-year-old kid can barely walk on land, dives off a 6-foot dock into the ocean with no adults, and just dives in and they videotape him under the water swimming around. And he's like a little frog or a turtle or something. You know, and I'm thinking to myself, people in a lot of places around the world do not understand this. They're thinking in a totally different realm of reality. They're using this trinity of thought. Their their subconscious mind isn't afraid to go underwater because they've learned how to hold their breath and to not panic and to be able to just, and there are people who practice it underwater, submariners and so forth, that can hold their breath, 3, 4, 5 minutes. I know I had gotten up to 2.5 minutes back in the day was when I was practicing. And I kind of thought that was freaky, but there are people who can hold their breath twice as long as me, and free dive and stuff like that. So you got to understand that, that's how can they do that? Well, with practice. Well, and they wipe out the fear part, which is a big deal. You trust yourself, you trust your instincts, you learn how not to panic. You need to use your third part of your brain because you learn to control the rest of your body. You can swim underwater. Go, I'm fine. I got plenty of air. Everything's good. Bubble here, bubble there. Doodly doodly. Let's go see what's going on down here. But if you're panicking and going, oh my God, I can, you're heading for the surface and you're drowning. Where other people will go, why is that person drowning? It's just water. We're made mostly of water. Why the hell are you afraid of it? Hey, Marie, glad to see you on. Even if you do just have to hang out in the background. Understood. Hope things are all right down under in your area of the planet. But but there are people in other places who can hold their breath and dive underwater. So, but I just was very impressed by the camera work underwater for one, but these guys standing on these coral reefs, 25 feet under the surface, like it ain't nothing, like standing on a hillside around here or something with a giant spear and looking for something to stab and take up and feed to the their extended family in the village. Very interesting how they never fought about anything. And even if somebody had something, they wouldn't let their friends go hungry. Just very interesting. And if you were the hunter, the killer, the boatsman, the paddleman, the person, everybody got their own chunk. It was amazing. And nobody complained. It's like if this boat got it and there were 6 guys there and this was this guy and he was this one, this guy traditionally got this portion. This guy, he got traditionally that one. Now, what he did with this portion was up to him. But from the killer, the hunter, whatever it was. So all the families and all the people, very democratic, I got to say. No, I don't think anybody felt left out, in any of what I watched. But anyway, but that's also a way of thinking, because if these guys can jump in the water like frogs and swim around like turtles and stay down and hunt, chase whales and stuff, and then jump back in, they were jumping back into the boat. I was like, this guy, he didn't pull himself in. All of a sudden, the camera guy is here, and all of a sudden this body appears and chunks himself in the boat. And I was like, how in the hell did he jump out of the water like that? It was like something propelled him out of the water. They think of water totally different than we do. That's using your third level. That's understanding there are different ways to do things. So, when I discuss using the trick of doing this and this and this and this backwards, and then doing the other hands, it's very important to cross over the 2 hemispheres, even with your eyes closed, because your subconscious, and actually it's the most conscious because it's aware of everything going on. Our conscious brains really ain't conscious unless we can access that sub at the same time. So let me go back to the clock. So you meditate on a clock. You meditate what time it is. And so, in your mind's eye, as you practice, you will say, okay, what time is it? And you will just see the clock and see what time it is and go, it's quarter after two. And in my practices, and then later on, I go, I was really close. I was like 5 minutes either way. And if you've been out in the woods or something like that, and you really don't have a concept of time, if you think about the clock thing, you will always know what time it is no matter where you are. That's why I don't want to move my clock forward and backwards. It messes with my own internal synchronization with this clock and Eastern Standard Time, which y'all gonna fix the most of y'all be moving back in time again over here shortly, which is gonna mess with everybody's stuff again. Ain't that convenient? I refuse to play that game, but in my own personal test with not setting my clock forward, my realization is that I'm still in my own time. My time exists here. I can go up the driveway and hit the road and head into town. And now it's like going into Central Time Zone. It's earlier or later. It's like, whoop, here at the house, it's 6 o'clock in the afternoon. But when I go up the driveway, it's 7 o'clock. So I enter other people's realm. And I can function out there in their realm, but then I come home to my own time. Okay. I know it's funky, but the thing is that my clock is always set. I don't have to like readjust stuff up here. I'm connected to this timeline, not being pushed forward and pushed back every freaking twice a year. Anyway, you get my point. But in this experiment, I've also understood that, holy crap, I don't feel the same anxiety that I did when I changed the clock forward and backwards, because I always felt like there was some kind of invisible shift force, and it is. Think of all the billions of people who are going to have to time shift backwards, or we're going to gain an hour. Wait a minute, is that backwards, forward? You set your clock backwards, but you gain an hour. Ooh, the freedom. What are you going to do with that hour? I don't know. Did it ever really exist? Or did they just muck with your brain to the point where, oh, my reality, now I have to go back in time, set my if you don't think this ain't mind control, pay attention. Oh my God, and look how many people they're doing it to all around the flipping world. So try it. It's even if you just pick one clock in your house that you refuse to move forward or backwards, that you're that's your anchor, and everything else be like, okay, and you can put you put a piece of tape on a clock and go, EDT, Eastern Daylight Time. So you or Central or whatever where you live, but know that it's an hour ahead. Yeah, right. This is their time. You'd be surprised because I was, and if I'm sorry, put a gun to my head. I'm not changing my freaking clock back here in the back that's on the wall right back here. Anyway, so but when you do these tricks and you expand and you my brain's trying to get ahead of me. Coffee break. Hi everybody, good to see you. And if I put my glasses on and read y'all stuff, I'll get caught up and I want to finish this certain train of thought. Y'all know me by now. But I love you and keep chatting. But so in the explanation of like reaching nirvana or reaching some type of rapture or some kind of spiritual awareness, if you've never been spiritually aware, then how in the murderous muckaroo are you going to know if you've had one or not? If you've never had a gauge to go by, was it a really good experience? I don't know. Something happened, but how do you gauge it? So by practicing some of these techniques, and you can expound upon them, like doing the, sitting in a chair, going to the next room. Okay. By doing these core little tricks, by learning to see the clock, not try to guess it. Guessing don't work. You got to trust in yourself, because once you get up here, you will always see that clock no matter where you are in time and space. And it's really creepy, but I'm usually just very rarely am I 10 minutes off the time I state. What time is it? It's about 2:12, 2:15, and get back and it's 2:17. I missed it, or wasn't quite there. But I've been practicing this for years, and you don't guess it, you accept it. You accept what your internal clock says because you're anchored to a point in this time frame. Now, if I was to move to Central time zone or something, if I was to move to Arkansas, then I would change my clock then to that time zone because that's where I reside. But this moving forward and back crap, nah. Think about it. So everybody's going to go through another major time shift here I think it's November the 3rd, which is coming up. So be prepared, everybody, for a big ride. All of these people have to change their awareness of being ahead to now falling back. Fall back, the falling, the thingy. Come on, whoa. And so all of this energy, I don't know what the hell they do with it. Think of all the energy that's being manipulated and changed simply by the time change twice a year. All the shift in reality. But see, the point to these exercises is to anchor yourself. If this is if this is my spot, then I anchor myself to this spot, not that spot over there, over there, over there, or multiple spots. I anchor myself here. So no matter where I do travel, I will always have home. Now, as a carny, we always knew, home winter quarters. You went off for the summer, you left in early spring, and you didn't come back until this time of year in October, around the time of Halloween. And then that's when you went into winter quarters for 3 or 4 months, depending on the show and so forth. But to the point, though. So, but you can, no matter where you are as a carny, you've always got your home. You've always got your base. So you're never alone or whatever. You say, nah, man, I can't wait to get back to winter quarters. I can't get back to the house. I can't wait to blah, 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 blah. So in the idea of the spiritual realm, that's also important, because when you know that where you are, you can leave and not be scared and come back. You're still attached. Now, there are different folks that have their different thingies, but we are attached with our astral cord. Some people say it's a silver chain, a gold chain, a blue light thing. It doesn't matter what color it is. If you don't see it like that or understand it, just know that because of our subconscious, which is so expansive, we really don't know what it's capable of, but that we understand that we're linked. Unless you choose to break the link, you're linked. So fear will break it. You can break it and just keep flying off someplace. But usually if you're afraid, you'll just get yanked back in your body, and it'll feel like you fell from a 2-story building into your bed and go smack. It hurts. So be careful of that. But the idea, though, when you become comfortable in your own surroundings, so that as you learn to do this, you will automatically expand your outreach, your awareness. It will grow all by itself. Nobody's going to have to tell you, because you will now have a gauge. Oh, holy crap. Every time I use my third eye to see what time it is, I'm getting so good at this, I don't even have to look at a clock now. Now, how's that for confidence builder? How's that for a gauge to say, 3 weeks ago, I couldn't do this, and now I can? Crap. Now you're beginning to understand how to use the Trinity of thought. I'm just throwing this out there. Don't quote me as but think about it. Now allow your subconscious, which is always working, to come into your conscious state and go, wait a minute, because that's how you access memories. It's your subconscious, right? It's always there. Sometimes you have to go, well, I got to think about this. Let me go sit under a tree, or then, I'll go have a smoke, or that was my thing. If I had a really big issue, I can talk about it now because all that's been years ago. But there were times when I had an engineering thing and I was having trouble picturing it 3D in my head. I'd get my little bowl and I'd go for a ride and put a couple of hits of some good, what in it, and take me a couple of hits and drive around out in the country for about 10 or 15 minutes, smoke a cigarette, and then go back in the plant and sit down. And all of a sudden, I could just relax, and then I could see it visually, and then I'd start working on AutoCAD. I had two double great big screens. I had programs running, man. It was the shit souls, man. I'll tell you. But anyway, for back then. But so anyway, but it was that there were so many other things that were like in my brain. I'd go take a couple of tugs off my bowl, smoke a cigarette, calm down, get myself into my little Zen spot, and go into work. And people go, man, how did you do that? I was like, I just had to go right around. They knew what I was doing, not my bosses now, mind you, but other folks are like, what you smoking there, Uncle Dave? Smells pretty good. Is that some Jamaican? Is that some of that purple haze stuff? Yeah. Anyway, we could always tell, we'd use perfumes and crap. And in the plant that I worked at, there were so many chemical smells. All you had to do was go stand by a machine for 5 minutes and you would absorb the smell of that machine. It was pretty horrible. But about this third eye triangle thingy. So why the third eye then? If that isn't to suggest that there is a triangle of this involved. Now, I'm not trying to go into no third eye, the triangle thingy with the eye. I'm not thinking that. I'm thinking the triangle as being this eye and these two, or more specifically, the subconscious and the conscious. They exist in their own state of being, okay? But if you understand they're actually working together, that creates a third awareness, which is that third state of being. Just ponder it, okay? I know it may be, I told you this might be a weird conversation. But in that, the reality then, you have a gauge to how am I doing? Now, the spiritual, quote, awareness part of this is you could do these techniques and be a horse's patootie and be a nasty car salesman or something. I know not all car salesmen are nasty, but to the point though that you could be I'll just say it like this: you could be a carpetbagger. Between the North and the South, them northern carpetbaggers ruined the South. They're still trying to press their evil, mean, wicked, nasty ways upon us Southerners down here, changing our way of life and our philosophy on nature and of human beings and of treating a lady, if she's a lady, like a lady, but it's hard to tell these days. But anyway, the idea, though, that to use this other awareness, and it creates a third state of being. Now, for Buddha or other folks who have practiced this, who have achieved a certain state of being, or Zen, if you will, understand that, oh my God, I'm doing this and I'm not even thinking about it. I can walk around in the dark and I don't have to turn on the light and I'm not bumping into things. Oh my God, how did Helen Keller do it? Is it because they memorized it? No, it was because they can see it with their third eye. because of the blind people that I've worked with and the discussions in my own practice, and also in learning how to use this other technique, that now there are groups of folks who are teaching younger children how to do this, how to put on a blindfold and walk around. They can read the blackboard. They can see the children, other children in the room. They don't have to take the blindfold off when they go through a whole school day using not only their third eye that because it's been activated. Seeing for some of us old turds who have been around for a long time, we have to shuck off all of what society has bombarded with all the lies. And we have to get back to our childlike states of mind. Or because, a 10-year-old hasn't had the same experience. They may have the internet, they may have this and that. And there are some very, I know a 10-year-old young lady who's about 50 in her wisdom, but just saying. So there are some, call them star children, whatever you want to say, but they're just some wise old souls that are in some of these young folks nowadays. And I think it's those of us like my being a great grandfather and a grandpa and being grandpa to other children that I've been around, or Uncle Dave, and the idea that I've had a hand in helping some of these children to um, adapt their behavior, adapt their way of thinking so that they can still be creative. Instead of being lied to about things, I have been as truthful as possible with trying to explain to, young kid, 8 years old, asked me a question about the universe. I'm going to try to explain it to him in a way that a child could understand. I don't talk down to him, but I say, use an example like, have you ever blown up a balloon? Yeah, well, there's air in there, but you can't see it. You can explain things and go, wow, that's true. Where did the air come from? Well, you sucked it into your lungs and you put it into the balloon. So you can say, well, can you see air? Well, yeah, if you blow up a balloon, or if you see trees move, or the shamans of old, the young children would sit around with the ancient ones, and the young children would ask the ancient ones, so grandmother, grandfather, what how do you know that the wind exists? Because when a leaf falls, does it fall straight down? Or does Creator blow his wind across the land and it float up the hill or down the hill? Or why does water fall over a hill but not back up it? There are things that in nature that you can say, well, why does it happen? It's because it's the law of nature. Well, what do you mean? Well, you can call it gravity, you can give it a bunch of names, but water coming off a mountain and making a waterfall is the laws of nature on this planet. Does it need explaining? Things fall down. If you throw them up, things fall down. Newton gave it a name, called it gravity. Okay, but do you need to know what it's called to understand that it's there? I can throw a rock up, but it's going to come down. I can shoot it. I shot an arrow in the air, and where it lands, I know not where. There used to be a bunch of other limericks around those lines, but eh, you know, um, it was almost like she knew what she when. You guys are talking about something. That's okay. Go for it. I shouldn't butt in, but I agree with you. Um, but the idea of the understanding of what's going on in these other realms of thought. So when you practice them, you see them, you can gauge them for yourself. You don't need anybody else's input to go, oh, holy crap, I'm getting really good at this time thing. Oh, holy crap, I started practicing understanding my brain. If I look at something like underneath a truck or something, or I look at a picture and I know where there's supposed to be a bolt hole, and I can reach my hand down there and feel around. So I allow my fingers to look at what's there. Oh, there's a bolt, there's a thing, there's an ear, there's a hole through the thing, there's a bolt down there, and I got to put this nut on it. Okay, now this is just a mechanical thing, but you can use it in a lot of other ways. You just be creative. But the idea is that I can't see where it is, But my brain knows because I felt it. I've got a picture of this thing in my brain. And I know that I'm looking at the bolt or the nut and the washer that's got to go on it. So by the size of the bolt, I'm sorry, the size of the nut, I can kind of gauge what size the bolt is. And I must do this. And all I got to do is think, okay, my brain's already calculated this. Okay. I've talked about being able to chop wood and hit really close to the same damn spot every single time because I allow my brain to do what it already knows what to do, how to control the swing of the axe, how to allow it to hit. My brain has already calculated this out. It happens to each and every one of you. But if you don't go through these steps to understand that it works or that you're actually, quote, doing it, whatever it is, try to do something simple with your eyes closed. Like just experiment with it. And then, I like close my eyes and don't look down. But now I realize I could look down and it simulates my thought pattern to, quote, look at it with my 3D eye, my third eye. So a box of matches, okay? Look at the box of matches, simple, open it up, feel the tray, wooden, I don't know if they still make wooden boxes anymore for matchboxes, but anyway, the paper one, open it up, if there's a bunch of matches in it, one or two, turn a couple around backwards, okay? And then and say there's only 8 or 10 of them, you don't have a full box of matches for this example, as an example. So what you do is you look at it and you go, okay, half of them are turned backwards, or 3 out of 8 is turned back. Pick a number, right? The idea is can you close the box of matches, knowing that some of them give it a little shake, which is going to make them rattle around a little bit. So when you open it back up with your eyes closed, can you tell which one? So you open up the matchbox and you reach in and don't try to guess. Just say, look at it and go, allow the brain to tell you which one, because there'll be a match head pointing this way and not one, because it'll be on the other end. So you just reach down and see how good you get at fishing in the dark, picking out the match head without your eyes open, but your third eye, and allow yourself to practice it. You will be surprised at how accurate you can get with this. It will freak you out. I'm telling you, if you're not used to something like this, it's going to give you a whole new level of reality, which for all you good people and for all you good folks who will listen in, hopefully, about this, you will be able to use that energy and that knowledge to help you to progress the good things you wish for with your intent. Because now there's a whole nother level of reality. It all ties into your third eye, these two eyes, but you understand what I'm talking about. Not the unconscious, but the subconscious. Because even when you're unconscious, you're hearing stuff. When I used to have seizures, there were bits and pieces of conversations. They'd go, dude, man, you were out like a light. You were like drooling and everything. And how did you know? We were talking about going out and getting ice cream? I'm like, I don't know. And I couldn't tell you who was talking, but I'd wake up and go, so who's going to get ice cream? And it'd go, how did you know? Well, I don't know. You were having a seizure. You were out like a light, man. You heard us talking about ice cream. Yeah, but I don't know who it was. Don't know where it was. So in having all of the head trauma that I've had to overcome a lot of like really strange shit from being hit in the head and having my neurons rearranged from the outside and inside kind of stuff. Anyway, so some things I've had to learn myself, and I call it reprogramming, because I've had to teach myself how to walk, how to do this. A couple of years ago, I couldn't move a kayak, and haven't been to the river lately. I've been waiting on the storm to go by, and we ain't even going to get no rain out of it. Could use some more. But I'm ready to get back on the water again. I'm even though I can't run that well, I'm ready to run around the block at least once. Around here, that would be a big ass block. But But if you don't practice these things, if you don't try these things, then you're leaving yourself in the lurch. There are other types of techniques and things that you can do. One of the best things to do, always think of it this way. You want to find out if you're learning something. So you have to set up a basic parameter for any scientific experiment. So whatever it is, you set your base point. I don't know, you want to learn how to do umpty scrunch. You say, okay, I want to learn how to draw. All right, so you have to start out with basics. You get a piece of paper and you get a pencil and you draw. You tinker, you allow your creative self to come out. For writers, there are times when there are crazy stuff in my brain and I just I can't write fast enough to get it out of my head. Automatic writing, stories, this, all kinds of stuff. Oh my God, my brain never quits. But I think it's because I've been hit in the head literally too many times, like over 25 times. I've had a serious head concussion, been in the hospital several times because of it. But I've rewired my brain. I've gone in there literally with Bob the Builder and some of his buddies and visualize things. So that's where I'm headed with this. You want to visualize something in your head, but give yourself a base point. Give yourself a piece of paper. That piece of paper could be a memory. You could go outside, you could go into another room, something that will give you a base point, a chair that's comfortable from which you learn how to astral project, okay? Or be able to learn how to see with your third eye, or to be able to tell time, or to be able to do the little finger exercises. It's very important to cross the median, the midline between the brain. There's a line down the middle of our brains. So simply by doing like Tai Chi exercises, whether you actually understand what Tai Chi is, by taking your right hand and crossing it over the midpoint or the median and turning your body, you've allowed the energy from this side, these two parts of the brain now have to talk to each other, kind of thing. And so now and if you're using your intent, you can change energies in the energy field around you. So then when you do it the opposite way, and you've seen folks who do Tai Chi, what they're doing it one way and then they do it the other. It's the yin and yang of things. But it's because they're crossing the median or the midpoint of their center line here, and they're pushing their energy and they're moving it, and it's all cosmic. It really is. So if you are aware of these basic things, then you can start to understand if a person is doing Tai Chi, what what would be the spiritual reason, for example, that you would move your hand this way or down, or move your arms up like this and push, or that you take and you bring your arms down and out. You're bringing in energies around you and from the universe. You are accepting them in. You are pushing the bad energies out. You're crossing your midline on your right to your left and left to your right. You are exchanging energies with your kundalini and all the energies and the forces around us that we cannot see because we're using these two eyes and not our third eye. So the trinity of the consciousness or the subconscious is always working. It's actually should be called actually, us being awake should be the subconscious, because I'm sitting here talking to you for the last hour and 9 minutes, and blessings to all you. Hey, Mary wins, truth in me. Um, so when you understand these things exist, then how can you extrapolate that into your spiritual life? Can you then understand that, oh my God, if I can read a clock from the swamp and be right, you know, And say, well, it'll take me 30 minutes to get home. By the time I get to the house, it ought to be 3:15. And you pull down the driveway and you come into the house and you look at the clock and it's 12 minutes after, and you go, I'm a little early. Or it's 17 minutes after, and you go, wow, I'm a little late. But things like that happen all the time when you understand, and it's not that you project it, you allow your brain to see it. You accept it, but you accept it for what it is because you've practiced it and you've learned it. It's become an art. It's become second nature to you. It's like, God forbid, being able to take a 9mm apart and putting it back together again with your eyes closed, or being able to reach in a matchbox and be able to only pick out the ones with the heads that are sticking out. If you do your little matchbox test, lots of ways you can test yourselves. For example, you want to be able to perceive colors when you're in the other realm. Here's one. Get something like this, and I'll show it to you. I just dropped that. I knew it's a crummy thingy. Blah blah blah. All right. This is an example. You want to train your mind. You want to get more accurate with what you're doing. Here's 3 colors. Okay. Now they're little lights. These are $1 at Walmart. Okay, no plug, but you know some little button batteries up here, and I take them camping with me. Put them in the bottom of the kayak and illuminates. They're great. They don't make you blind. You can still see around, and they also do this thing too, in case you need like a flashing light or whatever. Blah blah blah, and they turn, and you can wear them in your shirt pocket. Anyway, they're easy to, you can hang on to them, so when you're camping or whatever, you can just put them on your shirt. And this one's purple, you know, flashy light. I just like them. And this one's blue, just to show you, since I got them here. It's a really nice blue. And it depends on the color, um, and how strong the batteries are. But anyway, um, third eye gymnastics, right. Now I just used these 3 here. Forgive me for playing with my flashlights, but just lay them out in front of you. Okay, you know that there are 3 colors, and you put them on the table or whatever, put them in your lap. All right, and what you do is you close your eyes, turn off the lights or whatever you're going to do, and don't cheat, and say, okay, now I'm going to pick out the blue one. All right, so I had my eyes closed and I picked out the blue one because I remembered where it was in my hand. I allowed my eye to see it. The blue one was here. All right, now I could mix these up and say, okay, now where are they? All right, so, and I'm mixing them up. I got my eyes closed. Now I think this is the purple one. Okay, so my eyes were closed. Is that a trick? Yes. You're allowing yourself to remember where they were. Your brain knows where the position of them is. Once you close your eyes, your brain still knows where they are. Your eyes can still see them, and sometimes you can just, like, I'll look down at the caps for practice and say, okay, I've moved them around, moved them around, moved it around. I think this is the orange one. Oh, got it wrong. See, because I was trying to guess it. I didn't look at it. But to the point, though, when you learn how to do it, you'll be able to see the colors, imagine them, perceive them, however it is. So there's all kinds of tricks to help you develop your subconscious conscious connection, to develop your third eye, to develop the Trinity consciousness, if you will. It sounds like a really good title, doesn't it? The Trinity of consciousness. But if you understand that one is this, one is that, and the 2 of them make the third, that's the state of being, of both at the same time equals the third. It's 1 + 1 = 3 in this case, because it would be 2, except the 1 and 1 is 2, but in creating the number 2, that is a third object, which creates 3. So figure that one out, right? How about that one for running around with your brain for a little bit? But so anyway, in this idea of high awareness and of learning how to do things, if there isn't a way to gauge your progress on your own. Well, am I doing this right? Am I getting it better? If you haven't developed a way to test your own self to get better at it, and don't be frustrated. There are times like sometimes you're just going to get it wrong. Sometimes you are. You're just going to get it wrong. Something's going to like, oh crap, I thought that was the purple one, and you pick up the red one or something. And but don't be frustrated. Understand that it's more of a trust issue with you and your own subconscious, which is actually aware all the time. So it's just learning how to use it, learning how to see it. And in that spiritualness of it all, it helps you to understand the cosmic realms of nature because the things you learn to do are natural things in nature. What? Yeah. I mean, do deer know what time it is? You betcha. During different types of the year, during the rut, during the this, during the seasons, when to do this. You don't think the swamp, the animals, and we've got some of the critters flying south now. And I live kind of sort of on the southern, on one of the flyways, because south of me is St. Mark's in Florida, when it's a big wildlife preserve, natural preserve. And a lot of birds winter over there, down through there. A lot of Some birds have actually wintered around here and actually taken up residence over the years. It's been interesting. Geese, for example, and they should be starting to honk and squawk pretty soon, coming south. But you don't think these critters know what time it is? Daytime, nighttime. There's owls down here in the woods. I swear to God, every day at about 4 o'clock. Hoo 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 hoo. I'm like, shit, it's 4 o'clock. There they go again. Like clockwork. Now the other day we were down in the woods, and dang if I was like, man, they're really early. But then later on, when I got back to the house, they hooted again. So about every couple of hours, if you listen, the owls will tell you what time it is. I mean, it's amazing when you become aware of these other, what I consider realms of reality, because it's just, is it higher? Is it a higher realm of reality, or is it lower? I don't think so, in the grand scheme of things. But it is an awakening of your awareness, and it gives you confidence to do the next thing, confidence to have confidence to have the faith in yourself, confidence that your guardian angel is your guardian angel and nobody else's, at least, under the circumstances, and that you know that you're safe in the universe by these simple practices and techniques. My friends, I hope this has made some kind of sense. And I hope that if somebody's struggling with understanding about certain things, get them, allow them. Don't try to get them on a Ouija board or nothing. But there are lots of other things you can do. There are times when, I bet you've probably done it. You open up a book to a certain page and read something and go, oh, holy crap, I was just studying about that. Do you think that's coincidence? No, your higher self is like already knows what's in that book, because the other spirits have said, hey, there's a really good article in this magazine. It's on page 37, and you sitting at the doctor's open, and you happen to flip to that page, and there's a picture, and there's the thing, and you go, shit, I was just thinking about that. Is that synchronicity? Or is that allowing what's already natural in the universe? It doesn't mean it's predetermined, because you have the choice to not open the magazine. You know what I'm saying? But there are things like that. You can flip through a magazine and notice something and then say, just kind of look at it and go, well, it was somewhere, I don't know, it was in the book, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I'm going to close my eyes and see if I can find that page in the magazine while you're wasting time at the doctor's office. Pick up a magazine you've never seen before and look for a picture. Think of it, picture it, close your eyes, and then see if you can find it in, quote, the dark. And then See if you're a page or two off. Me and my friend, when we play cards, we're playing a form of canasta. I think we each get like 13 cards or something like that, 11 cards, whatever it is. Anyway, so we got to practice and playing years ago. And so you've got two decks of cards shuffled together, and you reach down to see if you can pick out the right number of cards from the deck. And it got to the point where every time I go and play cards with her, I would be within 3 cards of usually too many. Once in a while, I'd be 1 or 2 cards short. And we'd practice it between the two of us. And she'd get a dead nut sometime. I mean, even the flip card. So there's 20, you pick up 23 cards. And it's just, you don't count them, but you kind of like, okay, and you pick them up and then you deal off the top and see how many cards you have left. And it's amazing. We have gotten it within 3 cards so many times. It's like almost every time we've ever dealt and done this little trick between the two of us. She does it, I do it, but we've learned to say, well, wait a minute. And I'll go say, well, now there's too many in here. And I'll take 4 or 5 off the bottom and go, yeah, that feels about right. And then deal them out. And I'd be 1 card short or 2 cards too many. And go, I thought it still felt heavy, but you should try it, because your brain already knows. It's already calculated how many cards that you need to pick up for the two of you. It's amazing. But if you don't practice it, if you don't believe in it, if you just shrug your shoulders and go, well, but that's how you practice. That's how if you're if you're an archer and you don't practice pulling the bow back, you're not going to be as strong, and you're real shaky with the arrow, and so you need to practice. Whether you ever kill anything or not, you need to keep the practice with your bow. And it'd be nice if you shot an arrow and to the air and followed where it landed over there. Trying to make it rhyme. But to the point, though, everything requires practice. And if you don't practice, you're going to lose it. You know what I'm saying? So try these techniques. There's a couple others that I thought I had kind of sort of writ down up here, but I think you get the idea. So there, you can imagine, I wonder how much milk, say for example, going to give you one more example, whether you like it or not. Say you've got a carton of milk, okay, the cardboard kind, you can't see in, but you are kind of, for me, I was always curious, can I guess how much is in it on the side without actually looking in it to like check it? So, so you say, okay, well, you pick it up, it's closed, it's just a regular old, carton of milk that you can't see through, like from the old days in school, and it's a quart or, half a, big one. So you pick it up and you say, and you say, I wonder how far the milk is down the side, or whatever other liquid. And you don't really look at it. You just say, okay, here's the weight of it. I think the level of it is right here, and put your finger and put a little mark, and then do a little test. And then you can do a little flashlight, look down in the bottom, and you can check to see how close you were, how close your line was to the actual, how much liquid, where the volume is in the thing. You'd be surprised, but that's another technique. Simple little things. And you're not trying to trick yourself or guess. You're trying to allow yourself to accept that the brain's already calculated this. Now, I always pick it up okay. And, I think it's about there, and I get so damn close, but to the point, I still play the game, if you will, because I still look at a board and go, I think center is right there. And I measured out and I'm within a quarter of an inch of being within the center of something. And even if I'm an inch off, to find the middle of an 8-foot board without a tape measure by quote guessing, is like when you learn to do these things and go, crap, I get it within an inch every time, because I allow myself to go, that looks like the middle right there, and make a little mark, measure it, and see how close you are. It's son of a gun. You're within an inch or so either way. Now, when you're trying to do precision work, that's not necessarily the best thing to do, but it gives you a chance to be able to gauge how you're doing. It's your own little personal test. It's your own little gauge. And when you say, crap, I was with, I got it within a quarter of an inch. Son of a bitch, I'm good. You know? And you can look around to the universe and say, I got it right. I got it right. You can do your own little dance. You know what I'm saying? You can shake your tail and I got it right. I got it right. And that's how you know that you're starting to get the idea of how the universe works, because you learn to trust yourself. And it doesn't mean anything to anybody else but you. But in telling other people, I started doing this little test of finding the middle of things, or whatever it might be, whatever that little test is that you say, um, you know, say, ask me what time it is, or something like that, and you're like right on the money, and they go, how'd you do that? Say, I got a clock up here, and I've been doing this little test, and they go, what? Yeah, then later on they go, okay, so now tell me what time it is, and and accept it. Now it takes a little practice, but the thing is when I started getting it right so many times in a row, I was like, I don't want to see it anymore. Then all I could see was the clock, and I could see the time, and I was always within a couple of minutes of it. I was like, this is creeping me out, and I realized, wait a minute, what? Why would that creep me out? Because I realize that I've reached a certain level of understanding of the universe, that I can sense, see the clock, or understand time. Oh my God. And that opens up a whole new reality to another discussion that's going to be another topic that is already a new topic for another discussion on another video, because I needed to do this in stages to be able to build this up. So when you learn these mind techniques, when you allow your brain to catch up, when you allow yourself, and I don't consider myself any smarter than the next guy. I've lived a long time. I've observed a lot of things, but what the biggest thing is my experiences. I have allowed myself to accept what I know. I know that when I do this test with the thingy, I know I don't bump my toe on the couch when I walk through the house and the lights are off. I know I've walked through the woods without a flashlight and haven't gotten eaten by bears or stumped over or anything. I've been in my kayak on the river and on the lakes and stuff, and paddled in the dark and not run into any obstructions, and I'm aware that there's something nearby before I ever get to it. And it's because I sense it. My third eye, my whole being is like acting as um, um, a sonar, or some kind of like bats echolocation kind of thing. And so it's like you either a force field in front of you, and you learn how to interact with it. I'm speaking about being in the dark and on in my kayak in the middle of the night and stuff like that. I mean, when you allow yourself to go there, and I'm always got my flotation device on. I'm always as safe as I can be. But you can have an accident in the daylight, but to the point about this though, when you learn to accept these certain things and allow your senses and allow these natural things that are already within you to come out, to explore, to test yourself, then you start getting more of the big picture. And I can't tell you how it's going to affect you, but and every day is a holiday. Every day is a chance to practice and to teach yourself. Well, let me see if I can remember how that went. Let me see if I can recreate that. For example, you may have seen something or watched something or whatever, and you say, I wonder if I can I wonder if I can draw that, or I wonder if I can remember what that line was. Whatever it may be that the test is that you create. And but it's about remembering. It's about seeing it. One of the things as a child, because I'd had a couple of bad head injuries early on, I had trouble understanding things. But I realized one thing, and one of my teachers way back in grade school, almost sixth, seventh grade, she was like, "Why do you, well, you know this information. I know you do, but when you take a test, you freeze up and you don't." And I was like, and I had nuns because I went to Catholic school, and I'd say, "Sister, I can tell you the page number of where the answer is. I can tell you how far down the page it is and where it's located. Like if there were two columns and paragraphs and you had to read down like it, I could tell you where on the page it was located, but I can't tell you what it says." And she's, "Well, I don't believe you." And I go, "Page 32, halfway down the page." She'd open it up and there was the answer. And she'd go, "What?" I could index things, but I couldn't remember the content. Well, what was the date of the War of 1812? I don't know, sister, but it's on page 49 and it's about 2/3 the way down the page on the left-hand column. There it is, War of 1812, Andrew Jackson, blah, blah, blah. In 1814, we took a little trip along with Colonel Jackson down the Mighty Mississippi. Yeah, okay. But the thing is that she went, "Well, wait a minute. You can tell me what page it's on and where on the page is located, but you can't give me the answer." Nope. I couldn't read the page. So, and I still don't know how I did it, but I did. And I could visualize so hard. I know the answer's on this page. But I couldn't read it because I was so confused in my childhood, whatever. But she was like, "Well, now that's just creepy, Dave. I don't know what to think about that." So she kind of let me slide in some of the things because I had this other knowledge and she knew I wasn't stupid. And it wasn't dyslexic. I just literally was like, the answer to this question's on this page down here. Now, if I could only read what the answer was. So I was always slow in taking the test because I was trying to read the pages in my mind of where the answer actually resided in the book I was studying. I still do that at times, and if I can't read it, that's because I'm trying too hard to read what's on the page. You have to just let the words come off the page and see, and you go, because I see the page number, I see where it's located. Why is it fuzzy? Because I'm trying too hard to look at it. I'm forcing what's on it. And you have to go, here's the page, there's the number, I got that right, and I got the location right. Now allow what's in that page to come to me. And that's another way to practice. So that's the magazine at the doctor's office, for example. Can you try this and practice this all the time? Do yourself little favors and quote, play these little mind games. Because, how do you become good at sleight of hand and making a coin disappear? It's by doing these simple little exercises with your fingers. These guys can flip a coin between their fingers and you not even see it. It's not magic, it's sleight of hand. Now, some of it is magic, but it's sleight of hand. It's through practice. I mean, I literally have watched some of these guys flip the coins with their fingers and try to show me how to do it. And I go, I can't do it. It's like they're using another force to help them flip that coin backwards over their knuckles. And they go, "No, I'm not." Yes, they are. Yes, they are. Because it's the same way I can look with my fingertips in odd locations and feel around and be able to picture it in my hand, what's down there, and give you a drawing that's fairly accurate without ever actually looking at it physically. Feel around the dark, blah, blah, blah. It looks kind of like this, right? Yeah, boom, son of a gun. So, but we allow ourselves, because our brain can calculate these things. We can see in the dark. We can see in these other realms. Our subconscious is already attached to these things. That's why I always say, accept and receive the healings, the wisdom, and the knowledge from the universe, because it's there. We just have to learn how to bring it to us. Now, there are people who would like to, quote, use this power for whatever. But the thing is that use it for your benefit so that you can help others. If you can be aware of things, if you can tell that it's using your intuition and understanding your role in the universe, and even in minute ways. If you know you're here to help people, but you walk around being an SOB all the time, well, then that's contrary to your what your belief is, right? But if you follow your belief and you're as kind to as many people as you can without being rude about your kindness, which that can happen, then you're doing what your natural being, your natural law, the natural you is supposed to be. Because there are many people like, well, what am I supposed to do? Well, what do you want to do in life? Well, I don't know. Well, what are you doing now? Well, I scrub toilets for a living. Okay, well, I've scrubbed toilets for a living, and at times it was rather exhilarating in that I didn't put up with anybody's shit. I could flush it. You know, all my worries went down the drain like Mr. Clean. But the thing is like, yeah, but I was making pretty damn good money under the table, and I was like, and I needed the cash, so I cleaned somebody else's toilet. Big deal. Oh, but you demeaned yourself by being a janitor. I bought groceries. Did I demean myself? No. I hummed and sang. Nobody was standing over my shoulder. It's like, hey, Miss Jones, you want to come in here and watch me clean y'all's toilet? No, you go ahead and take over. That's why I fucking hired you. Okay. So you go do your job, and I clean your shit. You pay me well. All right. But if you go in with the idea that, well, I gotta clean everybody else's shit all the time, and all I got to put up with everybody's shit all the time, and everything is everybody else's shit all the time. Well, if you walk around with that kind of attitude, then you're gonna put up with a lot of shit all the time. But if you just realize, well, it's just other people's crap, you know, we all have crap. It all comes out at some point. And but how do you deal with it? Now, there are times when we have to put our dukes up and go, no more crap, but that's another story. Anyway, my friends, I have yacked for an hour and 30 minutes. Max Vision, High Divine, Divine Living, hey there. Um, Sugar and fructose can inhibit the memory. 5G can inhibit your memory. We're playing on a video game for too long can inhibit your memory. A lot of crap things that can inhibit your memory. And a lot of people are making excuses, but I agree with you. You know, I have my fair share of sugar. And if that were the case, and now I'm not a sugar hound, but if that were the case, then I would have forgot a bunch of shit by now. And I know some people who are diabetics who have problems with their sugar, but it ain't the sugar that makes them forget. It's the lack of whatever. But so, you know, if you use, if I think where some people say sugar, and I'm being a horse's patootie here about the sugar thing, because if you use just real sugar, you probably won't have near as many problems as you will if you get sugars in. For example, I use sugar in my coffee, but I have learned to back off. But the thing is that at my age, I probably shouldn't be using as much as I do, even though it's not that much. But the idea that, oh my God, it's the artificial sweeteners and the other types of fructose, sugars, syrups, things that are in the things that we eat and ingest. Just sugar, and if you eat tons of it. See, it used to work on the carnival, and I used to stand. I have a cotton candy machine, so I know a little bit about sugar. And the thing is, we'd stand there and munch on sugar all afternoon long, clean it out of the bowl where you got too much cotton candy and it hardens, and you got to go in there with a spatula and you clean it up. You get these great big globs of sugar. It's sugar. It went in as sugar and it came out as spun sugar, looking like fiberglass. But then it's still sugar. But the thing is after eating all of that, we should have died of all these other kind of things because of the sugar. But it was just sugar and a little bit of food coloring. Some we use. I used to use Kool-Aid to get different colors of cotton candy. Really interesting to mix like a little bit of green lime with a little bit of purple slurple or something and end up with this swirly cotton candy. I had really interesting cotton candy. I still have the machine, by the way. One day, If I ever get a bunch of big group of people together, I'm going to fire up the cotton candy machine and the big popcorn popper. We'll just have a hoot nanny and a fire. But anyway, but to the point that there are other types of sweeteners that will just drive your system crazy. But if we just stick to certain basics, and for God's sakes, don't overdo anything. I don't. I didn't find that, eating sugar for all those years with a cotton candy machine made me forget things. It was the booze that I drank afterwards, and the drinking and the cocaine. And anyway, um, Max Vision says surrender to the third eye. Um, I get what you mean, Max, but I want to be careful when we use words like surrender. It's almost like we are surrendering to an entity, and it isn't that at all. Now, I understand, Max, what you mean by surrender to the third eye, but because I'm in this really weird thing with words lately, we want to be careful to people who are new to this realm of thinking, and they may not have caught up with us in some certain things and what we mean by surrender to the third eye. But we have to accept it, and we have to surrender our fear that the third eye and this exist. So the surrender is not giving, it's not giving in, it's accepting that it's already there. So we have to be careful. So, and I'm using you, Max, as a little bit, but the word surrender, I get what you mean. I do. But other people might say, well, what do you mean surrender? Is there some kind of something else? No, it's all you. If you practice these certain things that I've suggested, then you will understand it ain't some evil entity that's allowing you to do this. It's you doing it. It's you proving to yourself, oh my God, I made it through my own living room and missed there was something on the floor and I stepped around it. Holy crap, I should have stepped. I've been, oh, it opens. Holy crap. I mean, it's these simple things that will give you the confidence to accept that other things in your reality is can be acceptable. Like, holy crap, did I just really see a real true orb? Maybe you did. Um, you polish toilet seats for a living now, Max Vision. I was a janitor for years, and when I was in the jailhouse, I worked as a maintenance and this and that. I mean, I literally had my arm, y- you know, this deep in shit. I mean, with my face like this close to it, kind of yucky, yucky. So when I make my little jokes, I have actually worked it, done it, been there, so, but anyway, and my hat's off to anyone who works in industrial waste like that. I actually used to work with trailer parks in small communities that had small sewage treatment plants. Oh, by the way, since we're talking a little bit about crap, um, if you are taking vitamins that are Centrum or some of the one a day brand kind of things, when I worked, we would go out to these um, sewage treatment plants. So great big giant tanks, 8, 10 feet tall. Got to climb up on a catwalk to look inside. Great big giant machines that are 30 tanks, 30 feet in diameter with crap literally floating around, being agitated and stirred, and air moving it around and so forth. And guess what you see floating around on the top of that? Besides ladies' tampon kind of things, um, vitamins, whole, complete vitamins. Centrum is the biggest one. One a day, there's a couple. If you take a multivitamin and it has a hard shell on it, break it in half and then take it. Because the vitamins are so strong that it will upset most people's stomach. But because it upsets people's stomach because of the strength of the vitamin, they put a coating on the vitamin that's so strong it won't dissolve in your system. It literally passes right into your stool, into your toilet, and into the sewage. Thousands of vitamins floating in the sludge and on the poo and on the water and on the, and I'm looking down going, I can still read the name of the vitamin. That's how good these things go through your system. So if you're taking a multivitamin, the trick is to break it in half. So the stomach acids will eat the vitamin on the inside, and that gets into your system. I swear to God, go find a go to your local municipal plant and ask them if you can go. Like, just take. Can I go? Will you take me on a tour, sir? And you see, now, not all waste treatment plants treat waste the same way, but the type that do the big thingy and all which there are thousands of them around, even out here in the country. Small communities get together and have a community sewage treatment plant, and they're smaller units than big cities, but they all work basically the same way. Anyway, but you'd be surprised what goes all the way through, and you're not getting the benefit of these high expensive vitamins because they're the coating on these things are so tough. I'm just saying. Surrender to the third eye, Max. I'm picking on you, but I'm not. I hope you know that. I'll read down something about a photographic memory. Truth in me. I've always kind of wondered how I did what I did, or do what I do. I still have a tendency to be able to see certain things and remember their location, but not what it says. You know, photographic memory. If it was photographic, I'd be able to remember what the hell it said. Um, you used to do that naturally. Magdalena Tenderhearted. Hello there. I don't know if you're still there, but hello. I don't know if I've seen you before. Greetings. I think we are time rebels because there's no such thing as. Yeah, and that's going to be sort of moving into the next video I'm going to be doing. That's going to be discussing time, distance, space, and this is going to tie into the video I did yesterday and what we're doing now and talking about these different realities, these different levels of thought, and it's the awareness when you are when you first become aware that, oh my God, I actually told time, or I actually made it through the whatever it is that you set your goal at. And when you allow yourself, and to kind of pick on Max for a minute, when you surrender to the fact, which is allowing yourself to understand that you've had this talent all along. And now, if you try to push, let's see, you can't force it, you must allow it. And in a way, like Max said, you surrender to it. But you understand what it is. It's like, okay, I give in instead of trying to fight the fact that I may or may not have a third eye. I give in. I got one. Okay, I'm going to use it. Okay, so that's surrendering in a way. I just want to make sure that folks understand that to surrender does not mean you're giving in to some kind of demon that's overtaking your third eye. I just want to say that. And thanks, Max, for letting me pick on you. Michelle says, I always know what time it is instinctively, but I'm always late in spite of it. Michelle, I was always late too. Oh my God. And people used to laugh at me. Well, God, he's only 10 minutes late. He's actually early today, everybody. Look. All right, folks. And I would hang my head. I'd bring donuts in and go, look, I know. Wait a minute, but it's only 9 after. You're usually 10 minutes late. People was like, I lost the bet. I lost a $2 bet on you, damn it, Dave. Why go out and come back in again? for years I've had people pick on me about being late. So, but I'm on Indian time. Um, anyway, going back up here. Thank you, Truth and Me. Let's see, Mary wins. That's where we're supposed to go to remember. Um Michelle says, I like playing interesting mind games with myself. I've never really aged. Mary's still 7 inside. I always, yeah, okay. Um, going back through up here, I love you guys. I do. And you're such a great crowd, you know, and although we're doing this in a remote location, in an undisclosed remote location in Southwest Georgia, we're coming to you live from the swamps down here on the Little Clockney River Hermitage. And I wish to thank you all for your contributions of coffee to the Matrix, and allow yourself to always say hello to Bob. But howdy ho, neighbor. Let's share coffee. Um, chocolate is very good. Mary wins. Yep. Um, use it or lose it. Let's see, Max. To try without thinking. And Max, to a very good point, you have to think about it, but you can't think about it. You have to be aware that it's there. So then, which is, well, if I don't know it's there, how can I, so you think about the awareness of it. And you say, okay, the answer's in this book. So rather than try to find the answer in the book, this is sort of an explanation. You allow the information to make itself known from the book, for example. So instead of saying, well, okay, I'm going to open this book and let's say the answer is going to be no. So you can hold on to the book and imagine that in your awareness of things and say, okay, so my third eye is aware that I can do this, whatever it is. But then you can't force it. You have to allow the answer to come out of the book. And they'll say, okay, turn the page, one more page. Okay, one more page. And then you go, oh, there it is. And without actually looking at it. So, but in your awareness is actually looking at it. So there's this fight between the three: conscious, unconscious, subconscious, third eye thing. There's this like the war between the realities. So as you practice to understand which is which, you get much better at the whole thing. And as Michelle says, practice makes progress. Right. Truth in Me says, I am seeing the evidence in this group already. How is the ice cream? Yep. To try without thinking. Absolutely. Mary Wynn says, it took long enough. Really good at manifesting and seeing when I'm not busy blocking myself. I'm trying. And there are there are some things also we'll be blocking things and won't know why. Like, well, I was able to reach a certain state of like bliss the other day and my Zen was really kicking in, but then all of a sudden, for some reason, I can't get it today. Well, there are a lot of other factors in the universe that could be affecting us. So just if you can't reach a certain thing today, just chill. Maybe it's not meant for today. Maybe it's meant for tomorrow. Just saying. So is using the third eye the same as doing remote viewing? Yes, and maybe a little bit of no. Because after you learn about the third eye and all these different awarenesses, there is an awareness once you get to the Trinity of things, if you will, that you will understand that there's actually a little bit more than it's the third eye. You're actually accessing other your higher dimensional self. It's not just your third eye. When you're practicing around the house, not bumping into things, it's different. When you're remote viewing, you're going to a place you've never been before. So you're trying to access something that which you don't have a clue. Okay. So you have to allow some other outside source, if you will, meaning your guardian angel, your soul guide, your spirit guide. That's what I like to say, and say, okay, send out a little beacon out here. Twitter your friends up in the higher realms and see if they know anything about this. Ask Google up yonder what's this all about here, and then I allow myself through the practice of these other techniques to see what's there. Now, other people have their different techniques, but you can shoot your third eye out somewhere and you can look around. But do you know what you're looking at is for real? Well, it was real to me. Yeah, but was it really real what you're looking at? Was it something you thought of? Is it somebody else's thought pattern that you hitched a ride on? So you have to be careful with the quote remote viewing. I always take a look and go, well, that's interesting. I'm going to observe some certain things, but I'm just going to, I'm going to keep myself out of it. You know what I'm saying? Whatever it is, even if it's a good thing. Birthday party. All right, somebody offers me some punch. I'll stand over in the corner and have a little punch, but I'm just going to watch the party. I'm going to just observe what's going on. But anyway, so remote viewing. Um, and here's the thing about the remote viewing. There are times when remote viewing comes to me and other people, clairvoyance, other people, seers, however you want to look at it, shaman folk, that the remote viewing comes to you when you actually didn't ask for it. But somehow, because of whatever reason, they wanted me to see it, or you or other people, and we might have 3 or 4 people that get like a synchronicity of seeing something in the realm. Is that remote viewing? And I would contend that's different. We are having a shared moment from the quantum universe, absolutely. But are we actually remote viewing something, or are we picking up with our senses because we've practiced these techniques to pick up the universe and hear what's on the radio up there? The discussion about there are so many people who have come up with similar ideas and apply for patents within months of each other, and there'd be so many. Some of the differences are very slight in some of these designs, and some stuff are really complicated. I mean, and it's been proven over many years. Not to David Wilcox talked about this years ago, back when I would listen to him. But the thing is that I have found out in myself how true this is through an application that I was trying to promote on the patent office, when I found 2 other people who had similar kind of ideas but approached it slightly different than I did, and they got theirs through and I didn't. But I was just like, wait a minute, if these folks are already months ahead of me, screw it. It ain't worth it. But anyway, and plus I didn't have the money to pursue it. But to the point, though, I've already noticed these things in my own life as an engineer and a designer and certain things like that. And even a short story that I wrote one time that I read to some people back in the day. And then somebody says, did you ever publish that short story? And I'm like, no. Well, I saw a story or something. It sounded just like yours. I was like, really? Well, I didn't copy it from anybody. It was a story that I made up. I wrote down, I told the people as a storyteller. But now somebody else is telling the story. Characters have changed slightly, but damn it, it's the same story basically. Where did they come up with it? Was to say they were enlightened from the universe? I say yes. Is that remote viewing? I say no. It's different. It's different. It's listening to the cosmic radio and getting ideas, from out there in the universe. Is that remote viewing? No. If I want a remote view, I do like I did when I was in jail, and I came back up to Georgia from my jail cell to see what was happening on the farm. That was remote viewing. So I understand what the difference is. And from my own explanation in the story, then I'm hoping that you will get that too. Anyway, that's why I think it's different. You can be picking up information, but are a lot of other people picking it up too? Who says you're the only one that's got this great invention? Other people might have it too. So who's to say you're the only one that's viewing this thing? Not to, but because it's very possible there is somebody's, like, I don't know, somebody else could be remote viewing something or actually viewing something and transmitting their thoughts to the quantum. So you're picking up what they're seeing. Yes, it is possible. Yes. I've seen what other people see. Other people I've said, well, let me give you a little brief explanation and I'll send you a little mind picture. And I go, holy crap, I can see what you see. We do that and understand that it happens all the time, and clairvoyancy and all these other things. So, but anyway, the idea of that, um, Michelle says, as a child, and still sometimes I walk outside with my eyes shut. I like playing interesting mind games. Yes, and I've sort of read that before, but I missed that one part. But to the point, though, it is important that we play these little mind quote games. Oh, by the way, there is a little app that, and let's see if I can give you the one. I think it's a decent one. Let me give you the name if I can. It is I'll think of it in a minute. I'm looking for it. I can't remember what it is. I can't remember the name. It's Mahjong, and it's one of them is Mahjong Solitaire, and the other one is Mahjong Master. And you say, well, Dave, why are you telling me this? Well, because one of the things that I've learned in these mind games, and Michelle, you might like this. Mahjong is picking two tiles that are the same and taking them off. Now, this one particular one, for every day of the week, there is a different tile set. So they may be stacked this way. On Tuesdays, it looks like this. So what I got to was, in order to try to get my mind to work again from all of the drugs and all of the serious head banging, I started playing Mahjong to be able to pick out like things. Okay, got him. Cool. Got him. Cool. So first the game was, can I get all the tiles? Okay. Then that got to be boring. What I then started to do was not whether I can get all the tiles, although that was the ultimate goal. It was how fast I could pair, go this one, ding, this one, ding, this one, ding, this one, ding, this one, ding. And I was getting to the point where it used to take me 15 minutes to play one game of Mahjong. I was doing it in under 3 minutes. Right? So I learned to look at the screen, and instead of searching the pattern and looking, I allowed my eyes to see the whole picture, and it would automatically go, there's one and there's one. And so and I even learned how to do shorter strokes using this little keypad here, so I could beat my time from the time before. And then I got to the point where I was beating the damn machine, where it would give me tiles that was impossible to win the damn thing. But anyway, but to the point, though, you get faster, your awareness picks up. and it brings you a different level of awareness mentally and the rest of it. It's all connected and it's all exponential. You learn a little bit here, and all of a sudden that little bit expands a whole. It's like you get an air mattress and you can roll it up into a ball, but you unroll it and blow it up and put air in it. Now you've got something to sleep on. What? Okay, so it's like, things in the realms. Well, it's one size for this, but with a little bit of air and a little bit of huffing and puffing, I'll blow your house down. We can actually sleep on an air mattress. Wow, you guys have been so busy over here. Uh, it's buffering on your end down there too. I'm getting sugar intoxicated, says Truth to me. Aurora Rain, somebody popped in. Aurora Rain says, so ready for 2020 vision. I've kind of seen some stuff in the future, and we're kind of in the future now. And one of the things that I am frozen on your screen. Max says inner and outer signals depends on the question perceived through the third eye. Many visions can be our own impressions. I absolutely agree. Or visions or similarities with someone we're connected to in the psychic realm we're not even aware of. It could be someone else's thought we could be listening to. I agree with you, Max. Michelle, I'm picking up what you're laying down. Crispy Crunch chocolate bar, yum. Truth, make me hungry. Uh, Max says, again, yes and no, Dave. It depends on the vision and your definitions. I agree with you on that because there are things that have been shown to me in 2013 that are actually happening now. And I mean, it's like, holy crap. So, one of the things I keep telling people, or at least I try, we live on a planet, we live in a universe, and there are many things that are going on. And if you think that it's, it's all these other things that are causing it, the universe is a funky place to live, okay? And we just need to understand that we live in a funky universe. And when we're true to ourselves and strong and have strength within ourselves, in that, regardless of what happens to us on this planet or whatever, we are still light beings. We're still spiritual beings. We're going to exist in other realms. And when you have understand that kind of a feeling and a confidence, the rest, there are a lot of other things that just really don't quite matter so much anymore, I guess. I don't know how to put that. Um, the Mahjong Aurora Snow, yeah. But there are all different kinds of games that you can use to help your brain. And in understanding also that, there's the cosmic radio. There are sometimes I can tune in, and some people use spirit radios. I think I've been hit in the head so many times. I literally have turned on radio stations, will be singing a song, and turn on the radio to the exact spot in the song at the time, be like one or two bars off, and but be in the same verse. And the fact that I turned on a radio station with that song, and the fact that I was anywhere close in the song, but be within just a couple of words, holy crap. After a while, you just so, have I just been beat in the head too many times? You know, but in understanding that there is the cosmic radio of all other kind of stuff out there. So you can just kind of tune in like you're listening to a ham radio or a breaker 19 on a CB radio and listen to other chatter. Driving down the interstate, and as a trucker for many years, I just like listening to other truckers talk about crap. It was great. So in that respect, you're kind of listening in, and a topic hits your brain. You hit the mic, and you go, breaker, breaker. This is the green ghost coming at you from the chicken coops in Georgia down here, that Ocala. Um, what, anybody got your ears on? I mean, whatever it is. But to the point, you're listening to the universe. Practice these things. Help yourself get along, and understand that they're there. Um, More buffering, and I don't know if I'm at the end of this, but anyway. So like Divine says, I don't like it because I suck at mahjong. Aho, Divine Living. Marie says she's filling out forms and listening. So I know that there is a lot, in my opinion, there's a lot of controversy about remote viewing. And the reason I say there's controversy, in my humble opinion, is because I understand that there are these other frequencies out there. And when people say, well, I saw this, but did you really? Well, I spoke to thus and such. Did you really? Or were you picking up on a similar frequency? Or are you picking up? Because there is so much out there. So as you learn to pick up things and to remote view, it's like if I was to say, okay, you've never been to my house, for example, but here's my house in the background. I can send you a mental picture and say, okay, this is my house and my stairs look like this. Now, you explain to me, if you can remote view, that what my stairs look like, because that to me would be a test. I don't have to sit here and concentrate out about it. But if someone can actually remote view, and I've done this before with other people, and we've done tests. And my point about remote viewing was they saw me through the window. I told them where they were sitting. I told them what they were wearing. I told them what time it was on the clock. I told them, blah, 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 blah. And they were like, correct, 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 almost correct, close, but we'll let you slide on that one. So I consider that remote viewing, where other people say, well, I remote viewed someplace and stuff. How do you know? Well, because I saw it. Yeah, okay. Have you ever been there? No. Well, I remote viewed someone at their house, sort of like a peeping Tom. But I could confirm through the person who was there that I got it right. Time, the place, how they were sitting in the chair in the room. I mean, I got it right. And I got it right several times, to the point where she said, please don't do this no more. And I was like, you got it. But, um, and, but at the same point, she tracked me down when I lived out in the country with no phone, barely a television set. And she tracked me down with her ESP. So I know that things like this work. She could see my house in her mind's eye, described it to a local um, retired deputy sheriff near where I lived back then. And he said, oh, that's the old place out on the farm, and gave her directions to my house. I was like, what? Because I used to drink beers with him. But anyway, but the odd thing is, so remote viewing to me is there somebody that actually can confirm where you've been? So my concept of remote viewing is different than what other people's are, without trying to condemn someone else. But there are too many frequencies and stuff going on in the universe for me to be able to say, well, I saw this or that. I had visions of things and took many different spirit walks. And, I try not to talk about the vision things, except that, trust me, y'all, this stuff is happening, that was shown to me in 2013. And it's been shown to other people. I have discussed some of these things, like the fires in California. That I told folks, I said, Californian places are going to be lit up like it's on fire. Guess what? It's on fire. I've said lit up like it's on fire. Some bitch, it is on fire. What that was sort of the difference in my vision or my perception of it. So how do we perceive things? What is our perspective versus our perception discussed in yesterday's video. But our perception of things is very important. How do we perceive it? Where do we stand in our perception of things? What is our perspective of it? You know, so, that's for the other video, but all of this is tied in. So, but when you understand there is the perspective of things and there is the perception of things and the difference between the two, then you can also delineate when you start doing these simple tests that, oh, is that my perception or my perspective? I'm sitting in my chair, that's my perspective. I've been out looking at things, that's my perception. Okay. But if we have our home, we can always go back to where we're safe and confident. So, Marie, it's absolutely good to see you again. Michelle, Vision Quest, absolutely. So, I know there are folks out there who would absolutely disagree with me about the remote viewing thing. And I continue to warn people, I love you all. Be careful what you try to remote view because you're allowing your frequency to be picked up by other entities, and it's just not safe out there for a lot of reasons. So, always ask your spirit guide, always be clear with what's going on. And I hope that this discussion has enlightened you in some way to reconsider your point of view about the universe and how you perceive it and how you project to other people what your perception of the universe is. How about that for tying stuff up, right? I love you, my dear friends. I do. Thank you for what you do. I do see changes within the universe. I do see changes in people's behaviors through their comments and through their actions. We are making a difference. So please keep up the good work. Don't give up. We ain't dead yet. Okay. And every day can be a rapture day if you allow it and are open and are willing to accept it. So, my friends, after 2 hours and 16 minutes, oh my God, I can't believe I blabbed about this for this long. I love you, I do, and we'll close with a prayer. I continue to pray that each and every one of you will continue to accept and receive the gifts, the healing, and the knowledge and the wisdom of the universe. I continue to pray that each and every one of you, your friends, your family, your relatives, and all of your relations in all realms will continue to accept and receive and use and utilize the teachings, the healings, the wisdom of the universe. And as the rule of three, I continue to pray that each and every one of you will continue to accept and receive and share the knowledge of the universe with your friends, your family, and all of your relations. So again, I am your humble servant. I am your humble guardian of this absolute weird knowledge and strange comments and thoughts and things. Love you all too, divine living. Thank you. And just remember that if you think you got it figured out, look at it from someone else's point of view. Cosmic hugs, Marie. Give your children a hug when you can. Same with you, Michelle. Give your children a hug from Uncle Dave from Hawkeye, and say, "Hey, this is from Hawkeye. He's just a crazy guy. Anyway, he said he wanted me to give you a cosmic hug. So here's a cosmic hug from Hawkeye. Anyway, I love you all. I do. Be safe, be kind, be sweet, be compassionate, and always, always, always be true to yourself. When that means that you'll be true to others. Stay an honorable entity, and you will get far in this universe. So, Marie, ha 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 ha. I'm gonna go have pizza. Are you? I love you, my dears. I do. Be safe, be kind, be sweet. Until next time. TTFN from South Georgia.